Mobility, right? Mobility in most games today is really bad, especially games that prioritize player interactions and combat. And unless the game is all about mobility, it's usually pretty bad mobility. Two good examples are Deep Woken and Type Soul, right? There's no repercussions for abusing it, there's no repercussions for running, and there's entire builds that are just around abusing and using the mobility system. But what if instead of a basic mobility system that was nothing like its intricate combat system, there was a mobility system that was just as complex, just as intricate as its combat system? Just like majority of combat systems, something that's easy to learn, hard to master. It's easy to get the buttons down, but figuring out all the good combos, all the good movements, the best ways to do the movements were hard to master. And what if instead of it being abusable and really viable for runners, it abused people for trying to run away, therefore stopping them from abusing it? Because using mobility in combat, like jumping off walls, dashing midair, isn't really something you see, whether that's in Deep Woken or Type Soul. Now, I can kind of see it in Battleground games, but the mobility system in those games, there really isn't any more mobility. It's still all about attack, even if you're doing something like side dashing, rolling backwards, or dashing forwards, right? We really haven't ever had a game that had a good combat system and a good mobility system. So seeing a game where it punishes runners by making their stamina run down 3 to 4 times quicker in combat would be refreshing. It'd be the first of its kind, right? Like, Saisei tried to implement something like that, where rolling, hitting, parrying, and using moves took your stamina. But it wasn't really refined to the point where it was fun. It was more like something that's there and it's going to ruin you if you aren't paying attention to it 24/7. But now Saisei, sadly, has been left for dead, so it'll probably never be worked on again. But Veilbound, if they can figure out how to do this right, this would completely outplay Deep Woken, Type Soul, probably even some AAA games, knowing how majority of AAA games now are just glorified DLCs, which is really sad. And it would also, like in my last video, I said contend with Deep Woken, because like Deep Woken's been on the top for a while in terms of like combat games, but Deep Woken's been real dry lately. Deep Woken's been real bad. So like something like this releasing would be such a nice breath of fresh air and something nice to like get into. Something that'd be fun with friends to play again. Because like Deep Woken's fun and all, but it doesn't really have much to do in terms of doing stuff with friends after you do everything. But in Veilbound, after the game comes out, if the mobility system is just as fun as they say, can you imagine practicing mobility and trying to get better with it in friends, or sparring and you guys are jumping off walls at each other and doing these cool little combos that require you to use the mobility system? And keep in mind, use the mobility system, not abuse the mobility system, because in Deep Woken, you don't dash to get towards your opponent. You don't roll to get towards your opponent. You only roll to dodge moves or to move around outside of combat, because rolling in combat is very important. Same with, but the thing about Veilbound mobility is that dashing in combat could be viable, even though it has a really good combat system where it's all about hitting and parrying, and rolling can help you dodge moves. Dashing could be viable. Can you imagine that? What if in Deep Woken, I use Deep Woken as an example because I'm used to Deep Woken, so sorry if that's my main example for a lot of these videos. But for an example, like I said, what if in Deep Woken, to get towards your enemy, you do an air dash into a hit, or air dash into a mantra? Can you imagine how much more entertaining that could make combat? Like, you go to jump off a wall towards an enemy because they're backing you into a wall, and then instead of being like further away, you're all up in their face all of a sudden. Now that'd be a lot of fun. I'd love that, actually. That'd actually be a lot of fun. But a big problem that comes with that, like I was talking about earlier, is runners, right? If you're fighting something like a 2v1 and some guy calls up like two of his boyfriends and like they're looking at you, they're kind of kissing each other, they got a bit of dribble going down the side of their cheek, and then they look at you and they're like, oh my god, that person looks so gankable, and they come and jump you. Let's say you get one of them low, right? That person starts to panic and they make the mistake of trying to run away. They try to climb, they try to run, they sit there, hold block. Now, when they try to run, their stamina is going to run down in danger 3 to 4 times quicker. So that means they can get punished for trying to run. Something that really you don't see in Deep Woken, something you don't see in Type Soul, and would, like I said, be the first of its kind. And having something the first of its kind would make the game really refreshing, right? Because a game where people can't abuse mobility and instead get punished for trying to run away would make player interactions a lot more fun, right? It'd make player interactions a lot quicker and a lot less stressful, right? Because, like, player interactions shouldn't really cross the threshold of you trying to think how you're going to catch up to a person while defending off another person. It should more be about, I'm having a lot of fun fighting 2 people at once, knowing that they can't really run away, and the second one of them do start to back off and run away, I know they're low, giving me a leg up of information. But that's also a good way to play mind games, right? Because in Deep Woken, you know someone's low when they show certain animations, but in Veilbound, you could know someone's low when they start backing off you in combat and they start playing more defensive, right? Now, a good way to play mind games is like, let's say it's a 2v2, right? You knock one of them and all of a sudden it's a 2v1. You're full health, but you still back up and act like you're low, right? You back up a little bit, you run a little bit. Now, your friend who's actually low could go take a second and heal up, right? While they're distracted with you and trying to get you until they realize your friend is trying to heal, right? So your friend could then get punished for healing, but they'd still get a little bit of healing, right? You see what I mean? So instead of running away and abusing the mobility system, you instead have to play mind games and you have to think about it, or you might have to play mind games. Like this game isn't out yet, which is kind of sad because I'm hellishly excited for it. But imagine it comes out and it's just fun. For the first time in a while, a game that's just fun. When was the last time you hopped on Deep Woken and the second you got on, you were excited, right? The only time you're excited in Deep Woken anymore is that, like, if they're going to drop Conquest. We don't even know if they're going to drop Conquest, right? Because Conquest isn't coming until 2028. Let's be for real. GTA 6 is going to be released before Conquest. But when was the last time you could say that you hopped on Deep Woken and you were genuinely excited to go and prog? In Veilbound, if you get bored of progging, why not practice the mobility system? This looks fun, bro. That'd be so much fun. But anyways, I'm yapping because I'm kind of out of it, but I'm also having fun yapping. So, but other than that, that's really all. Let's pray. Let's pray to the Veilbound gods, okay? Let's pray that the mobility's fun. This is something new, and it'll come out sometime this year because I have no idea when it's coming out. There's not even an ETA yet. But that's all. That's really it. And bye-bye.